Welcome to Go For Side Effects. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. You all know my co-host, Wade. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fabulous.
Hey, so we want to wish John and his wife a happy anniversary and everything. And also, this weekend, I'll be a grandfather again. Yep, on Sunday. Colton and Emily are going to be having their first baby. That's my oldest. So congratulations, guys. I hope everything goes good. Prayers are with y'all. And also, I would like to talk a little bit before we start about what happened on Sunday at the Trump rally with the two that are wounded and the one that passed away. And the one that passed away is Corey Comforter. Okay. He was a former Marine, 50 years old. Heart goes out to the family. And then I would also like to talk about James Copenhaver. You know, 74 years old, family, our heart goes out to the family. And also James, they call him James, but David Dutch. He is also a former Marine. And he is also a Desert Storm veteran. And, my heart goes out to everybody involved that was even in there. And I'm sorry that all that happened. The show is not a political show, but when it comes down to you have 3 people dead and 2 of them are veterans, or 1 dead and 2 wounded. They're now, I think, they weren't critical, but now they're in serious condition. And when that happens, and you got 2 veterans involved, my heart goes out to anybody involved in any of that. And so with that being said, tonight, me and Wade are going to talk a little bit about, well, not a little bit, for about 35 minutes. We're going to talk about the new research that has come up, and which the Australian research that they came up with, I found that fascinating. I had to listen to the video like 4 or 5 times to understand it. Wade knows more about this because he's more in the medical part of stuff. But I will say this, though, Wade, is that it is interesting to find out. They're finding more and more out about Desert Storm. I don't know what's going to come of this, but I would like to play the audio. It's a video I'm watching, but the audio, if y'all have not heard the video at all, y'all need to go find it. I'll post it on the link once I figure it out. And so here it is.
A line has been drawn in the sand. US troops, fully equipped to deal with Iraq's chemical warfare capability, are pouring into Saudi Arabia, ready to meet any threat from across the border.
It was 1991. Images of battle lit up living rooms around the world as the Gulf War became the first major conflict broadcast live.
There was a buzz going through the ship that the training that we had done to prepare for us to go up there was now going to be put into action.
All the people that served in those conflicts were extremely proud to serve our country and do their duty.
Australians Troy O'Keefe and Ian Allwood were just teenagers, new recruits of the Royal Australian Navy.
Kuwait is burning. More than 500 oil wells are now on fire.
The conditions on land and at sea could be toxic.
During the Gulf War, I was an upper deck lookout, or I manned the 50 cal machine guns. I remember being during the smoke, oil and dust fires at 10 o'clock in the morning. It was being absolute darkness. My eyes were watering.
Troy O'Keefe was also on deck, scanning for mines released into the ocean.
We were on 6 hours on, 6 hours off, 6 hours on, 6 hours off.
More than 30 years later, the broken sleep he endured at war persists, along with other symptoms.
I get rash, over my body. I get really bad headaches at times, just pounding headaches. I get very nervous.
For years, I coughed up like a mucus that tasted like smoke, oil and dust. It's still, the yucky burning oil taste still comes out of my lungs.
The term Gulf War syndrome was quickly coined to cover a range of symptoms including fatigue, brain fog, muscle pain and gut issues, but uncertainty remained about a cause. Now a group of Australian scientists has made a breakthrough.
Excitement, hopefully, will echo across the world.
The ion channels, or doorways into the cells of study participants with Gulf War illness, are faulty and don't open properly. That means not enough calcium can get in, impairing the function of every cell in the body. Those doorways act as threat receptors. In some veterans, the receptors have been damaged.
They've been exposed to, for example, burn pits, chemicals, also mandatory vaccinations, and those interventions are threats.
The published findings build on research into the same cell dysfunction found in people with long COVID and myalgic encephalomyelitis, or chronic fatigue syndrome. It's hoped clinical trials into the use of a repurposed medication will improve lives.
It's opened the option of different treatments.
A diagnostic marker in this area for these kind of illnesses would be a substantial breakthrough, and good luck to them, but there is definitely a lot of work to go.
Australians stood side by side with American fighters in the conflict. While the US has recognised Gulf War illness, authorities here haven't. Veterans hope these new findings will change that. The Department of Veterans Affairs says it's the Independent Repatriation Medical Authority that has responsibility for determining how diseases can be related to military service.
We just want recognition so that we can get a treatment path for our people moving forward.
It should be recognised.
Troy O'Keefe's time as a young sailor is long gone. His life forever changed by his service. A group of scientists has helped explain why. Emma Pollard, ABC News.
Now, to me, that's important, okay? This is from Australia. They're exhibiting the exact same stuff as we are. And, I mean, that, to me, I don't know a lot of the technical terms like Wade does, everybody. He is, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I like him to be on here tonight about this, because there's also another finding. And you sent me, it was like, hey, you know what, the two go hand in hand. But my question is about the calcium. I produce too much calcium. So is that different than what they're talking about?
Yeah, that's going to be different. If like just what they explained in the video. So your channels that are going in and out of the cells, the channels themselves are actually blocked, which they actually have medicines for people with heart conditions that actually do this. But in this case, they're blocked for some other reason. Like just basically think of it's like your sink's clogged, and your water's not going down. So now you get they got to be unclogged. That which fortunately today I had an appointment with my neurologist, and it was just half my appointment was discussing this, and of course she went way over my pay grade. But one thing I saw somebody had posted, and I'm just throwing it out there. You can do what you want, but going to the store and buying calcium pills is not going to do you any good. If it was that simple, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you can take all the calcium pills you want. It's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to cure this problem. Now the next step is going to, if you're thinking long term, is how do you unclog these channels to get everything firing and working correctly again? Which goes back to Dr. Gulam and other researchers, findings of the mitochondrial dysfunction and the cells not firing or properly working. It's not I've seen a lot of, in my opinion, we talked about it. I personally think this is clickbait. It comes from Australia for one. When you go in and you actually read the study, not just the news article, the study, this is based on 6 participants. That's not a study, for one.
That's more of a trial,
So
right?
it's a trial, correct. One thing that one of the researchers in one of the studies I said that I did, which has always stuck with me going forward, is when they're using those words statistically, you can statistically sway and have any kind of outcome you want when you're talking about numbers. And that has always stuck with me. The one thing I did find interesting, though, out of the 6 participants, they had on their scores of their complaints, all 6 did rate pain, sleep, and cognitive issues as number 1 is as high, and then also 5 out of the 6 rated gastro conditions as being kind of high. I thought that was interesting, being correlated with American, issues as well, or U.S. troop issues. I thought that was interesting. I find it really hard to believe that Australia has waited 30 years and doesn't recognize it. But they did have, after reading, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw they had 1,800 troops that actually served during Desert Storm. When you get down to the conclusion and discussion of the article, of course, their conclusion, it warrants the rationale for future studies. That's their conclusion. And we have all heard that before. So to me, this study is a nothing burger. And that, again, just my opinion. It's nothing that I'm going to pay attention to one bit.
Right. And with that, I mean, at least we're starting to get some information. Starting to feel like that more and more, with Dr. Glom, this Australian, it's getting headway. Like, look, these guys really have the problem. And I talked earlier today to Denise, and she was like, one of the medicines they're talking about using, we've already tried. And so, and she was just like, it didn't work. And so they're going to be bound, if not for us, maybe for our kids, for them to finally come up with some kind of medicine that's going to relieve a lot of their problems. And everybody's, biological system is different. We all know that. I have neuropathy. A lot of people have neuropathy. Some people don't. People have real bad gut issues. But at least, like Dr. Glum coming on, and I mean, which is an excellent, researcher doctor. She actually, I can honestly say, I honestly believe she is one of the biggest contributors to helping vets. She helps them all the way.
Yep.
And so, and so I was earlier talking with somebody about the PACT Act. They didn't know anything about it. I don't know how in the hell you don't know anything about the PACT Act by now, because that's the biggest thing everybody's bragging about. But let me say this. We already had presumptives. What helped us was with the cancers. And so, in which it did. For the Camp Lejeune, very minute people have gotten paid from it yet. And so, a lot of things need to change. And so we need a better bill, bigger bill that comes out and says, look, these guys were exposed. DOD, we want all the paperwork. We need to know every single thing. But with the mixtures of everything we got, it's been in our bodies for what, 30 plus years?
Yeah.
I mean, is there going to be hope for us? I don't know. And so,
no, we talk about that all the time. Well, that takes us to the second study I came across, where we discussed, and that came out in November of 23, which, and like I said, I take a break from this, I don't sit here, I don't live this. I don't live Gulf War illness every single day.
Right.
I have a life too.
And I'm glad you said that, because like Eric is like, hey, I just accepted it, given up, knowing I will always feel this way. I did too. The only thing is I don't let it beat me down. You got to get up, you got to get moving, you got to do stuff. And I think that's the point you're about to get into.
Well, no, but tell Eric to hang on. We'll get there. So this study from Duke University in November of 23, they had 114 Gulf War veterans. Then they discussed about how the white blood cells they lack the ability to produce energy, and it's actually traceable, it's trackable, it's measurable. And the study goes on, and so if you have something to treat it, you can actually trace it, track it, and you can measure it months, years down the road. Now that's a study, and that's a treatment study. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to take your blood in 6 weeks. Did we see a difference in the blood? If yes or no. So that to me, that's a legitimate study. That's a good study. Duke University, how can you go wrong? So I think that there's things on the horizon. Are we going to see it? Honestly, no, we're not going to see it. That's my opinion. It's how you live every day. It's how you live your life.
Right. And also like Nova, they're constantly,
great.
yeah, they're constantly. Boston is doing a study right now that they need people. And I know a lot of people have given up and like this. I would tell you, Wade does every research out there. So nobody's done more research. I don't think anybody's done more research and poked and prodded on than you. And I commend you for it, because he's doing it for his daughter, his grandkid, and for all of us and our kids. And that's, to me, is the important part. Let's start looking at the Gulf War baby side of it now. Let's start taking care of them. Let's start looking into it. And my daughter suffers the same thing I do. Look at the people in East Palestine. I mean, what they're suffering from. They're exhibiting the same stuff we are now. A lot of people are. It's just all over. And this is becoming an epidemic.
Oh, absolutely. Now, the one thing that we were going to bring about, so, I did the American University study, and that was a diet-based study out in DC. I personally had absolute fabulous results with it. That's nothing I can come on the podcast until it's over and done with and like tell you exactly what was in that study and what kind of results I had.
Right. But
the VA does have a new clinic, and it's called the Lifestyle Medicine Clinic. Some of you may or may not have heard about it. I did actually go to that clinic, and I was in that clinic yesterday. And I will tell you that clinic is about 90% of what I experienced at American University. So instead of waiting the next year to 2 years for American University to come out, you can call your VA, ask for a referral from your primary care, and you want to go to the Lifestyle Medicine Clinic, and you can start on it, get going right now on it. And yes, it is a diet-based program, but I will tell you, after 8 months of doing this, I feel 1,000 times better than I did years ago.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And so that's available to the veterans right now today. Like we talked, everybody wants a magic pill. Nobody wants to go do the studies. Everybody, but this is something you yourself can do for yourself. If you want to go to McDonald's through the drive-thru, let's say hypothetically, and you want to get 10 chicken nuggets, a large fry, and let's say some honey hot, don't call me tomorrow and tell me you have gastrointestinal problems. Okay? I don't know who you're
talking about. I don't know who that could be. Look, I craved McDonald's one time in like 8 months. I happened to be with Wade on the phone. I was like, man, my wife was not working. I went to drive through, and yes, and let me tell you, I did hurt a little bit, but you know what? That's the one thing I can say can clean my system out is McDonald's. I can honestly tell you that.
Yeah, you got some toxins, all right.
Now, why would you tattle on me like this? I'm going to have messages from everybody going, what the heck? You went to McDonald's. Why didn't you go to Jack in the Box or, Whataburger?
Give me some Popeyes.
But, every once in a while, I do treat myself. And I should. I think
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm on my feet every day. I'm moving around. I'm always active. I still wear the patches.
Nice.
And they help me out. I can honestly tell you, I got off of them for 2-3 weeks. No, thank you. I got right back on them like that. And I sent some out to a guy named Jeff, and I'm going to work with him. He doesn't have a whole lot of money, so I'm going to work with him on helping him out because he has the exact same thing I do. He started with us over there. There's so much stuff that we can do different for our bodies than what most people can do in a lifetime. Don't look at yourself as wait until 70 and go, shit, I wish I would have done it in my 50s.
Right, absolutely. And I'm on Facebook. I don't post in groups. If I see somebody ask a question, I might personal message them and then talk to them on Messenger. But I don't post in groups. I'm open to anybody if they have questions. I will talk to them about diet. I'll talk to them about supplementation. I do have a pretty good background in nutrition. But that's, I'm not out there. I'm not going to beat on the drum. I'm not going to slam it down people's throats.
Right.
Like you said, the studies, I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it for the kids.
And Denise posts this diet study at AU in DC, all expenses paid. Call the telephone number 1-202-885-5907. I want to say that because people won't see these comments and when it goes on YouTube and everything.
I did leave that part out. That was the best. You want to talk about a 2-week paid vacation is what that was.
Right.
In DC. Did I have a little money out of pocket? Very little, but that was a fabulous paid vacation for a good cause, actually, and for my own good. Like you were talking, Nova's down in Fort Lauderdale, Miami. They will help with expenses. Roscamp Institutes in Sarasota, they will help. They don't help much, but they will help. But yeah, there's other ones out there. Denise knows who all these people are. Everybody knows Denise. They can get a hold of her. She can refer them.
Right, and the Body Brain, I guess that's what she's saying, the BB Brain.
B-Brain, yeah.
Yeah.
Boston.
With Dr. Sullivan, call Ashley 1-617-358-2230. I mean, this is important. If you got the time, this stuff they help get you there. Take a couple weeks. Enjoy it and everything. Every time I go, like, I could do probably the one in Washington, D.C. Well, I don't know. Because if it comes with one certain pill, and if you have renal kidney disease, they don't allow you.
No, I will say, DC is a diet-based program. There's a lot of those other ones out there. You're looking at Roscamp and Nova, and those are going to be your nutritional supplement trials. That's like Roscamp. The last one I did there, I had issues with. I had a reaction. Well,
yeah, you did.
Flushed out. I'm going to get back in. Yeah, I did. Get that flushed out, get back in the saddle, go back and try a new one. See what happens.
Oh, no. I totally agree with you. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. I'm trying to get to all the comments I can on here because a lot of people need to understand. Eric is asking about the patches. Eric, get with me on Messenger, and I'll talk to you about them. But if there's no medicine, no chemicals, it does help some. They still feel the same. But for people who suffer with neuropathy and pain, that's for me, that's really where I'm going with them. And so, what is it? Kevin Simon of Gulf War Side Effects Patches.com, something like that. But I'll get with Eric and I'll talk to you about them. But there needs to be studies, in my eyes, needs to be more studies in the holistic field.
Oh, that's all we're going to find. Yeah, we're too far gone as far as if
Yeah.
you're looking at time frame for an actual pharmaceutical. And I I'd make it no secret. NT factor. That's my go-to. I've been taking it a long time. I'm very happy with it. But I don't push it on anybody. It's my own thing. Someone asks me about it, I'll tell them my experiences.
Right.
And
And
I mean that's
not
kind of like you
everybody.
and your patches. Absolutely.
Right.
You know.
Right. And that's just it. I'm not going to push anything on anybody. You can try them. You can do anything. That's like the energy drinks.
Right.
I bought another pack, and let me tell you, I cannot wait to go to the barbershop because I keep one on me, and when I start getting tired, I put it in there, and I piss every single one of them off. Man, I'm off the rails. I'm like jumping around. I mean, I'm already hyper as it is sometimes, but man, I could go once I sit down, my eyes are ready closed. I'm ready to go to bed. I have to keep going. I take B12 shots every other week. And they tried to push me off of the B12 shots to once a month to every other month. And then they looked at my blood work and was like, never mind. I mean, my B12, if I take them every other week, they sit between 400 to 500. If you take the B12 shot every month, it should be in the 800s, 5 to 800s.
Right.
Mine's
Right.
between 400 to 500. With a shot, once I go in there the next day, I'm still between 400 to 500. That's how quick I lose my B12.
And what's that cause from?
That's my digestive system.
Okay.
Because they're
Yeah.
saying the lining of my stomach, the B12 spores are burned off. And, according to the doctor, he was like, it had to be stuff from the Gulf War. He couldn't write it down. I mean, they'll tell you that stuff, but they won't do anything about it,
Well, I've seen that on a lot of the Gulf War sites about B12. Just like I posted, I just wanted to do a quick informal survey on one of the sites to take to my primary care having to do with thyroid. And there was quite a few hyperthyroid,
Yeah.
or not. I'm sorry, not hypothyroid. And what am I? I'm gonna be 55, and I've been on medication since I was 40,
I
and
know.
that's pretty rare for a 40-year-old male to be on thyroid medicine.
I've been on, they put me on 2,700 milligrams of gabapentin, and I was in my early 40s. And I took that until about my early 50s, and then they moved me to pregabalin to 600 milligrams, and now he wants to go up on it. And I'm just like, dude, you're not supposed to go above. I don't think you're supposed to go above 600, but I mean,
I'm freezing.
yeah, you're freezing up a little bit, but I can still hear you.
Okay.
And so,
All right.
It's actually saying my internet. On my end, we're still recovering from the hurricane. And I mean, man, I'll tell you what, it was devastating. And that's why we did the program last week. Matter of fact, somebody made a comment. I would like to address that in tonight's episode. Did last week's podcast have to do with Desert Storm and sarin gas? Let me tell you, when you suffer as a disabled vet, and you have an emergency, and you're from Desert Storm caused by sarin gas, mustard gas, PTABs, I mean, the list is on and on, oil rig fires, you're going to need help. And so that's why we said prepare. And so that kind of agitated me a little bit. I don't know if he's listening tonight, don't care. I just don't understand why people don't think that Desert Storm, this is about Desert Storm. Every podcast is going to be about Desert Storm, Gulf War vets, veterans. I mean, we're all in the same community. And that's the problem right now. We're not lining up with each other. One research says sarin gas, one research says this, one research says this. Why don't they try to combine all the research they got together and say, hey, let's make a super pill?
Yeah.
And I think they will.
That's what we've talked about before, and I'm from the school. How could what I was exposed from and we're at my location compared to where your location, compared to where the Marines, there's got to be a common denominator somewhere. After this many years, and that's just it. I sit there and think, I can't figure out what that is. Well, they can't figure out what that is. Maybe they know what it is. Who the hell knows?
Right.
But
That's what I'm saying. I wish that the DOD would release everything and really, all we want to do is let's sit down in front of Congress. Hey, Congress, it's election time. I would be willing to come sit in front of y'all, please. But right here, let me tell you exactly what's going on, what the veterans are. Take the podcast, listen to it. But by God, man, do something. At least come out and say, they won't admit it, but the VA admits it. That's the part I don't understand. The VA administration will admit it, but the doctors don't know much about it right now. It's like, okay, so let's get these doctors trained and start training the nurses, all of them about Gulf War.
Well, exactly. They are learning, I can tell you they're learning a lot about burn pits, which kudos to those veterans. Post 9/11 is what I'm referring to.
Right.
Which was another conversation I had with my neurologist today. Because like she said, her post 9/11 veterans percentage wise is by far huger, and particularly because of the PACT Act, than our Desert Storm veterans. And so, and then we discussed the IDC code and this and that. And I mean, I'm just kind of like the cause. I'm over the cause.
Right. Right.
They know we're sick. I think they're got people like Dr. Gulam. We're getting to, okay, mitochondrial dysfunction. Let's find a way to help relieve. They're not going to fix it, but let's relieve it. Let's make the life better, quality of life better.
There you go.
I'm not going to sit here and stress for the rest of my life about what the hell was I don't care. I give two shits at this point.
And
what can you do to help my life better?
Right. So I can be a functional person in society. Yeah. Exactly.
And who did it to us? Why they did it? I'm over it.
You know what? You know what that deserves? You know what? Right there, that deserves. Right there.
Yeah. Why are you going to live in anger? Why are you going to be so pissed off at the world and what happened to you 30 years ago?
Right.
Be gone and be proud of your service and live out your last days as the best you can and do everything you can. Stay in the fight for yourself, And
I have a question for everybody out there. If you had to do it over again, let's take a poll. Would you do it again?
Hell yeah.
I would do it again. And I really want to take that poll because there's going to be some backstory to it. Because next week, we're trying to get it together, but we have more testimonies that was sent to me, which I got to thank Jason for, that a lot of people need to hear. And it's pretty damning evidence and stuff like that in front of Congress. And it's just going to show you how much they didn't care, but it's also going to show back then how the Gulf War vets got us where we are today. At least getting the acknowledgement from what, the presumptives and all that, because they did battle for us. Without them, we wouldn't have got the presumptives. So I give them a lot of credit. The problem is Congress ain't going to act on it. Senate ain't going to act on it. President ain't going to act on it. Nobody's going to act on it. And that's just my feeling. And I'm going to go with life. I'm going to rebuild my fence this weekend. I'm going to be pissed off while I'm rebuilding the fence because of the damn storm. But, I'm going to go on with life. I'm going to enjoy the hell of it. I'm going to take vacations with the family. I'm going to start doing more, with my grandkids. And that's what I want people to start. Let's start living a happier and then get healthier and feel healthier, lose some pounds, exercise, and for the guys with neuropathy, I do want to tell each and every one of y'all real quick before we go into after show, because I know Wade is dying to tell me stuff in the after show. But I am literally going to tell you, this one guy I met today, 40 years. I didn't mean dad, I've been cutting his hair. But when he comes in, this dude is 92 years old. 40 years he's had neuropathy. And he takes no medication for it. He's like, he goes, I'm not taking any medication. I do 2 things a day. When he first wakes up in the morning, he puts his feet in a foot massager. And he lets it massage his feet for 30 minutes. When he gets home, he puts his feet right in that foot massager and massages it for 30 minutes. And it keeps the circulation going for him. I'm buying one. And I think, you know what, if you think about it, you know, that with people with neuropathy, you know, the nerve endings are dead. And it's no different than anybody who has diabetic neuropathy. You get sores on your feet, keep your feet clean, everything. Don't let your stuff go numb. Work with it. Do massages. Go to chiropractor. All that, but the electrodes, I'm not sure if they work right. I've had a lot of people do the electronic stuff. It didn't help them out. Some made it worse. I mean, I'm learning that. But they go in, they go get massages once a week. So I'm starting to follow that group and just see what they do for their neuropathy. And a lot of people are having a lot of success with foot massagers. And so I'm like, well, shit. I ordered me a foot massager. And, you know, that's what I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to try it with the patches. And I'll drink the energy drinks as long as they're all natural. You know, and that's how I feel about it. But I want to thank Wade. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Really, brother.
And for everybody, if I didn't get your questions, I will. Y'all, please look at these research studies. Please go do them if you can for your kids, grandkids. And also, y'all go check out the Patreon. Get into listening to the after show shows because we know we're going to have a great after show because I know what Wade's thinking right now. And also, email me at kevinsimon@goforsideffects.com. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, share, and all that. We lost 2 listeners off there this week, so I need to gain them back. I don't know what the hell happened. You know what? I don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't get it. People are just nuts these days. But thank y'all for listening tonight, and we're going to get into the after the show. Thank you very much.